Hello there, and welcome to the Diamond Buzzard Patch Note stream. This is going to be a bit of a difference because I've got three of the finest Company Heroes minds and players with me today, and we're going to be talking about some of the bullet points on screen. That's the aim. It's going to go horrifically wrong, of course. Introduce yourselves. We've got Dumais. How are you doing, Dumais?
I'm good. It's always fun to be here and talk about these things, so let's go.
Sir Jibber, how are you doing, sir?
All right.
And we've got a mid-rank casual
I've
player,
waited for this
Orangepest, with us as all.
I'm just happy to be here. My input won't be that relevant, so...
Correct. Completely irrelevant. So, this has been a way bigger patch than we anticipated. This has been a colossal patch. I think Relic understated how big this one is for a change, which was quite nice. So, but I'll just say, what are your general feelings and takeaways from it so far? You've been testing, you've been playing, you've been reading the notes. What are your general takeaways?
Playing, that's very optimistic.
I guess I'll say first, tactical map. Honestly, there's a lot of quality of life improvements. The tactical map so far is probably my favorite one. We can already take a look at it on a few Twitch streams at the moment. It's really good. That's probably my favorite thing. I mean,
Well,
Yeah,
have
no,
you noticed?
piggybacking off that, like, just the quality of life stuff, there's a lot. And I mean
lot of bug
quality of
fixes.
life stuff, like
Mhm.
MG bugs, like, I think I counted like 4 or 5 bugs got fixed with the MGs alone. Like, there's a
typically
lot of
Debacle
small
is
stuff like
not
that.
yeah, there's a lot of quality of life
Yeah,
changes.
you can also see the stats now in the tooltips of what abilities actually do. That's also huge.
That's a big reversal from what we saw in the past from Relic at the start of this game. It seems like, I don't know, because they've had personnel changes, they seem to have had a cultural change. It seems to be very much like player friendly, like the existing community, if that makes any sense. It seems like the maybe the community personalities at Relic are having more of an influence. Seems we've got a lot of stuff that we've been asking for a long time that we were previously told no on. For example, as you say, the tooltips actually having stats in. That's kind of big, isn't it?
That's my favorite change so far.
It helps a lot with clarity, actually, because, for example, we're looking at the upgrades for DAC earlier, and I think the veteran squad leaders, I assumed it was a received accuracy change, but actually it's like a flat-out damage reduction, which is like a substantial, like, different thing.
Oh, that's one thing. It could either be a naming thing that they just named it reduce damage, or it actually is.
I
So
guess
that
we'll
depends on
find
how
out.
player friendly they want to make their writing, I guess.
Yeah, they've been also one other big takeaway just in general I've found, I don't know if you guys agree, is these patch notes are some of the most specific of all time. Like, they've written out, especially if you go down to the bugs, for example, they've literally specified the bugs in immaculate detail. It's probably wrong in some cases because you can't be 100% accurate with this amount of changes and notes, but yeah, it seems to be getting, like, I say, the hardcore nerdy Company Heroes fan has been satiated a lot better. I'm not talking about balance, don't worry. I'm just talking about the overall kind of approach seems to be heading in that direction. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's by far one of the most important things to especially attract new players. I mean, you know, again, like the when Orangepest said about the DAC veteran squad leaders, we all thought it was, again, like Jibber said, it could be a terminology thing, but like it just flat out said 10% damage reduction. So like that's huge. So
There's
I don't know.
that tactical map on screen. Demare, how's this comparing to the Company Heroes 1 tactical map?
It's just like Company Heroes 1. I think honestly the next change I'd like to see is remove the icons for like the movement. I don't think we need to see that the burstas are moving at full speed or the AT priority. That's kind of redundant. But
information overload, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's looking really good. That's by far my favorite change because I'm a big tac map user. So
big shout out to this is twitch.tv/Nubius Nathan watching. He's saying, "Bro, get out of the house." He's having some good fun with his opponent here. Orangepest, you're a big tac map user. What do you think of these changes?
So far, I mean, for me, I can adapt to most of the changes, but I really like that the icons are smaller, because I was having issues navigating, like, big battles. You know, when you're, like, late game, and you have, like, 10 units, like, or, like, blobbed around one specific area, the icons would always get in the way of each other. And that was like always a massive problem for me. So I think my play is probably gonna benefit like at least like 10 to 15% in like accuracy.
Yeah, as a late adopter to Sat Map, I can't live without it now, and I am literally looking forward to playing this weekend for the first time in a long time, mainly just due to this very small change. But it is a small change to some people. Jibber, have you noticed any other quality of life from this first section of the patch notes you'd like to draw our attention to?
Yeah, well, also something on the tech map. Sometimes where the squad icon was not representative of where the unit actually was. Like, for example, if an engineer was right next to a vehicle and was repairing it, then it was shifted to the right side of the vehicle icon. So you were double clicking the unit, so you went completely somewhere else. So it's also more representative of where each shield icon is now, the tactical map.
Yeah, strangely, you had to look at that very small circle underneath the actual icon, and it was a bit confusing. And I thought it was a placeholder, to be honest. So I'm very glad they've finally changed
Sorry,
that.
I just want to
That's one thing I miss.
quick.
You can't see the direction of the vehicle anymore, which way it's facing. I'm kind of gonna miss that.
Yeah, true. That is a sacrifice they've had to make. What were you going to say, Orangepest?
So I booted up the game real quick because there used to be an input delay in CoH3, right, when you move in units.
Yeah.
And I think it's gone. It doesn't feel like it's there. But I'm testing it right now. It feels like there's like the units are moving like way smoother, like it was in CoH2.
I've recorded this on video, so I know exactly.
Jibber's the expert on this.
I mean, you can go
let
test
me
it perfectly because, like, to me it feels better. But like,
share your screen, Jibber. Share your screen. Let's get on Jibber Vision for a while.
It could just be like I'm fucking
once
lazy,
CoH3 starts, I think it's updating. Yeah, it's updating, so it's gonna take a while. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Get that ready for us, Jibber, and tell us when you've got that ready. This is the quality of life kind of section of the stream. We are going to go on to the death of the United States forces in a bit.
Rest in peace.
That's the. I've only literally read the patch notes 20 minutes ago, and I'm already like fully on this hype train. This hive mind. We're not giving it any chance to not be good. We just expect it to be dead. Let's talk about map changes, and we're going to start with the one that Nubius Nath is currently showing, which is the Al Pacino stalemate. Has any of you guys had a chance to look at these changes yet? Do you think North might finally have a chance of winning? Do the territory sectors feel more like a competitive map? That kind of stuff.
The thing that I noticed immediately was on the right side of the map, there's like a giant sandbag wall near one of the victory points. And that seems like completely one-sided towards south side. So I'm not sure North is gonna have any better of a chance anymore.
Oh.
Well, it depends on if the ammunition point you meant.
Yeah, you can see it on Nate's.
Well, if it's also favored on the other side for the same player, or like.
Then yeah, maybe, but like that.
What's a big boy? Look at that wall.
Like, it's this massive sandbag.
The sectors used to be completely unbalanced. Like, I think he rotated his camera right, Nave. But as one of the players, you had to connect two of your points to connect the fuel, and the other player only had to connect 1 point.
Oh.
So the sectors are actually balanced now.
Oh, good. At least they're balanced
nice.
in that sense. Yeah, there's cut-offs, and that fuel is no longer part of the territory capping at the start. I just don't get this massive crescent sandbag wall, but let's not get caught up on it because we do have other changes to discuss. We've got Twin Beaches now have a jitty, and they've managed to use the word Mount Bacon 3 times in 4 lines there. But yeah, Twin Beaches has had some good changes. Taranto Coastline, which is rebalancing of buildings near victory points. Okay.
Oh, so, thankfully. There was a building that was overlooking the base, and if you exited your base when an MG was in there, it would fire on you.
Oh,
you could only go to one
that.
side of the map.
It was so bad if you're playing Dak. Good lord.
Oh, the house outside for the North player, yes.
You could fire over the side blocker.
Oh my. Well, that's
I hope there's a bit less elevation in Taranto. I don't think so, because it's only very minor changes, but the elevation on Taranto is kind of extreme. Like the differences.
Yes, it is when you're fighting in the center going north or going.
It's extreme, but I feel like it's probably one of the few maps in the game where the elevation bonuses actually make sense because they stand out. Meanwhile, on Twin Beaches, you still have these occasional odd spots.
That's true. Yeah, because
But
there's
yeah.
the Twin Beaches one that's really strange on the west side, where there's barely any hill, but you're getting a bonus, and I don't really truly get that. But Demir, would you say that Taranto Coastline is a Co-1 style map in that it's absolutely insane and makes no sense yet somehow works?
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it's not Wreck Train bad. I mean, I still think Wreck Train is by far the worst map in Co history. But I mean, I don't
This
know.
guy's not played Pripyat Winter.
I remember that map, but I mean,
Oh my
Stalingrad was pretty
God.
bad in Co 2 as well. But
Yeah, but imagine
I
if
don't
these
know.
maps were
Not that
20% of your map pool forever. That's where Demir's coming from with the Co-1 map pool. 5
yeah,
maps.
true.
2 of them were terrible. 40%. That's just...
Yeah,
And
but we
people
also had
rage about Go
vetoes.
3.
We had vetoes back then, so
Oh,
if they come in here, maybe we can fix that.
Impossible technology. Vetoes and surrender button. It does not exist.
There's something
Yeah,
much
it's
stronger than a
lost to the
veto. You can
ages,
just dodge the
alright.
map.
Yeah, you can dodge. I know, but I mean, I'm not gonna.
I wonder if they fixed that.
So, obviously,
Hopefully not.
the best tourney map is Road to Tuners. We've had some changes to piles of rocks, apparently. Is that going to be significant? What's Monolithic Bacon on
I
about?
think it's the ones on your cutoff, which actually might be more substantial than you think. Because
Yeah.
I think they're like immortal rocks that just didn't break, right? And so a lot
Well,
of
one
the
of them
things,
was.
yeah, like the one on the
Like
left
the bigger
side, right?
ones.
Like, and you try and pathing through it was a massive pain in the ass, and like you would lose vehicles because you risk like pushing out. It's like that happened quite a bit for me. So you
Jibber-
probably won't be as trapped, basically. It's like the main thing.
Good to know. Not as trapped. Jibber, where are you up to on your update? Will you have the responsiveness of the testing ready for us soon?
It's on 60%.
Okay, we'll move on then, and we're now going to press F in chat for the alleged demise of a faction formerly known as the United States Forces. What's the problem here, Demir?
There's just a bunch
You
of
would
nerfs.
start that
Yeah,
too.
like I'm not too sure where to start. There's a lot of nerfs across the board on a lot of things. I think like what we knew from the last patch or like the last meta, we knew like bars were really overperforming. We knew double Jeep was really strong. We knew that, white phosphorus on the Scott was really strong. But when you start looking at some of these some of these changes, they're very random. I think like the only buff USA got was the whiz bang. Everything else is actually a nerf. Like the air support center got nerfed. I'm a little surprised that got nerfed. Like it's just bizarre. Like everything got nerfed.
I'm trying to find another one. No, the Scouts
Oh, the
had its
Scouts,
manpower cost reduced.
No,
Paratroopers also got a big
yeah.
buff.
So, I mean, I guess we could start from the top of the list and we'll let the others talk in as well because, like I said, like we mentioned earlier, like we actually read some of these notes and we were talking about it for like an hour and a half, and
It's
like
just
we opened up the game.
Many. There's so many. It's so many nerfs, and I'm a big believer in. I prefer to buff counters than constantly nerf things. Like you have to get the balance right. Are they getting the balance wrong with their across-the-board nerfs to USF here? I'm a bit scared, to be honest.
Well, we've kind of run back full circle when it comes to the DAC matchup. So, like for example, if we look at the Chaffee, it got its reload time increased, and when the game came out, it was the Pizza Tank meta call-in. And the M13 spam literally made the tier 3 structure from USA almost unplayable. They've now reverted the reload time of the Chaffee back to like its default values. This basically means the M13 from DAC is now actually viable because it's no longer going to lose on a rate of fire basis. There's all these minor changes. Now like double Jeep opening won't work. Havoc did a test earlier. If we look at the Jeep at the top of the list, the Jeep actually got an armor reduction. So that means if it runs into a 250 half track, it'll lose the fight and the half track will have like 50% HP. Like these are massive changes. When we'll talk about like some of the DAC adjustments in this patch, you'll just see how like USA is going to be in a very weird spot. I think Brits as well, but I think USA is in like I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out like what the possible builds are because there's a lot of stuff you're gonna have to take into account.
So many massive changes as well. I mean, just looking on this screen, the
Yeah.
M8 won't be able to squad wipe like it was doing
Yeah.
occasionally. Like, everybody must have experienced those random M8
Yeah, yeah.
squad wipes. They're gone now.
I think one of the bigger, like, more annoying things for USF is like their anti-MG tools got nerfed, right? But the MGs themselves didn't get nerfed, which makes it so the MGs basically like have way less potent counters.
Yeah,
now.
this is another thing. I think Jibber will agree on me on this one. When we start looking at Ver, you'll actually see how Tier 2, the Luftwaffe company, got buffed across the board. The flak gun got like an HP.
Which was
like,
already insanely
look at that.
strong.
It was just at the top, the flak 20mm. It's the
Oh,
first
sorry, yep.
Wehrmacht
There we
unit.
go.
So the build time is now shorter. It now has more health. This is a 5-man weapon crew. It now has better penetration when it already murders M8s.
But
Like
what was wrong with it? Wasn't it in a really nice place already?
wasn't a very
Am I
good
stupid?
It was borderlining on already busted, I think.
yeah,
Very
it's a-
oppressive, but mostly because like the only thing you could make against it that could actually like deal damage without receiving damage was a mortar, and the mortar is kind of eh.
Now, the thing is why I get frustrated is because I'm a boomer. I work 40 hours a week. You guys, all three of you, send me replays, and I try and cast like maybe 2 of them a week. And I know that unit was kind of just on the borderline of OP. It was like absolutely fine, and that is barely dipping my toes into the game. So I just don't get where Relic are coming from when they're buffing something that's already powerful, and I find that frustrating personally.
Yeah, so the flak gun, that buff alone is that is a big it's pretty substantial because that unit is good against everything that you could possibly make in the mid game as allies. Like I would consider it like it's a no-brainer unit. It's super cheap too at 280
Only the
manpower.
Scott really deal with it decently at range because of the phosphorus, but the phosphorus got
The
nerfed.
phosphorus got nerfed, yeah.
So, like, the more
mm.
semi-okay, but like
The mortar's got a
That's-
slight reload increase in this patch, so but I don't think that will make much of a difference.
yeah, but you can always just walk away from the mortar anyway. That's the thing. It's like
And that's a
yeah,
big change
you,
there,
you
of
either
course,
focus
isn't
on
it?
the flak or you focus on the MG. But when there's 2 of them,
If you look
and
at the
flak
top,
shots out the M8s, it becomes like a giant like problem for you to push against.
but yeah, if you
Yeah.
look for the M8 Scott, you'll actually see like I think its damage went from 80 to 10.
Oh.
It's like look at that.
And that cost me
80 to 10. Like that's huge. And it costs ammo.
Yeah, but I guess the damage over time is like the same as it was, and it's actually already pretty good. damage
Yeah,
over time.
I guess so. But like
Counters to all this, though. I mean,
It was also
just
kind of weird that that so much impact damage to white phosphorus, so it
Yeah,
is in a good
definitely.
direction.
it's in a good direction, but like I just feel like this is my problem with the patch so far is like a lot of stuff for US gets like hit with these nerfs, and then you have like these key mid-game power spike units from Axis that just like get these random buffs out of nowhere. And like Wehrmacht is like, I mean, everything from tier 2 got buffed. The Jaeger, the G43 package is now cheaper. The Kettenkrad captures faster. Mechanized 8-Rad loses
don't sleep on the Nebelwerfer as well, because if, for example, USF were to now cope with a weapon support weapon build with machine guns, it's now going to get countered. Imagine that on Fame and Vil approach, for example. 6 rockets does.
It already gets countered by
Wait, the
flak
Nebelwerfer has
gun
white
stuff.
phosphorus? I don't think anyone uses that.
Oh, was that just white phosphorus? Sorry, my bad. But yeah. So-
the A-threat ability, what is that for deck again?
It's the
It gives you extended
is it-
LOS, and it also
Yes.
buffs nearby vehicles.
Yeah,
And
but
I
it
think it's a
replaces the
pirate
map
gun.
pack, right?
Yeah,
it replaces
which
the
is
map.
that's
that's actually
technically a
a small
nerf,
nerf.
but like
Well,
Mhm.
not small actually. But it's there, the nerf.
But yeah,
it
so
doesn't
going
really.
back to
You're
the
still gonna
US.
spam 8-Rads. That doesn't.
Yeah,
really
going
change
back to the
anything.
US situation, like it's pretty rough. Like there's gonna have to be like some decent theory crafting here and testing out to see like what's gonna be effective. Like even the changes on the riflemen, pour it on them is still free, but you now suffer from the 33% movement penalty like Stosstruppen and Astrans.
Ah, yeah.
So that's
I
pretty
think
substantial.
the bar pen nerf too is like that makes
Yep.
your
That's
struggling
what a
against
2-1.
gag. Like
Yeah,
that,
too.
it's brutal. Like how are you gonna deal with the 250s? Like if
Yeah.
you go early bars, which
Wow.
wasn't really an option before, but now it's like
Well, 2-2-1s as
I
well.
think it doesn't matter because no one does
again,
early bars.
Well, the
against
thing is,
Beagles.
like, I think you're gonna get forced into bars because your opponents is just spamming ass sprints that have like perma sprint because you tie them to a 250, and they're just gonna run you over. I don't know if you have
Jay
anything to
Shreddy
stop
in
them.
chat says the 250's arm has been buffed as well.
Yes, it has. So yeah.
Theory crafting wise, I mean, the bar penetration being reduced, I mean, and the M8 is been hard nerfed. Let's just think you are USF in a tournament now. Let's pretend you can't go Brits for a second. What are you thinking? I've just thrown you into a $10,000 tournament, but you have to play as USF in game 1. You're up against Wehrmacht. What are you going to do, guys? Just theorycraft for a second.
I guess DAC or Wehrmacht. If it's Wehrmacht, that's
I think against
I think
Ver, there's more
Wehrmacht, your
wiggle
game plan
room.
doesn't really change. I think you just
Yeah.
spam rifles and spam mortars and scots anyway. You just
Okay, so
You bash
indirect
it.
fire
I'm gonna do my
rifles.
airborne build.
the airborne build doesn't work.
It does.
It's the reason why you lost to Theo.
Okay. Infighting
Alright.
aside, it sounds like you feel you're fine against Wehrmacht, even though you are a bit scared of
You're
the
worse
Luftwaffe
off, but like
company
your
build.
game plan just can't change because the tools you have are the tools you have. You don't really have other options. Like, what are you gonna do otherwise? What are you gonna
But
go?
I'm thinking the Wehrmacht Luftwaffe company build 2-2-1 into 8 rad to follow up. I'm just worried about how you're going to counter that, to be honest.
You just make Chaffies.
But
You just
aren't
do what
they?
you
Make Chaffies.
like. I
Yeah,
think
okay, that's
DAC
more
is
accurate
honestly
now.
a bigger problem than Ver. That's the crazy part.
Okay,
Like,
well, we're coming on to DAC next. Shall we leave USF now? Any closing thoughts, Jibber? You've been the least loud of all 4 of us.
Let's see. Honestly, I don't think there's the change are that super impactful. Some of them. I feel like, for example, the Greyhound. It doesn't necessarily have to be a nerf because it seems to also be like getting more consistent AoE, like less scatter and a larger far AoE profile, but it will one-shot models less. So it might not even be a nerf, but mostly just being more consistent, like a T70 and CoH3. And see, if you see those numbers, the first number is the near AoE damage, like the close range of the explosion. The second one is mid, and then the third one is far.
Yeah.
And it's getting shifted to mid and far, basically.
Interesting.
But it does say a model limit of 2. So does that mean you only do damage to 2 of them, or that you can only kill 2 of them?
That's the one that's the one I think, because the M8 was having occasionally those full Grenadier squad wipes. I think that just removes that from the game.
I think it's kind of brutal if you can only do damage to 2 of them. Like,
But that's the
not even
thing,
killing, but
and that kind
damaging.
of brings me back to the flak crew of 5 dudes. Like, it's gonna be painful to have to decrew that.
You won't even be able to one-shot any of them. Because
Yeah.
if it only does 75% of its damage now, and it does like 1 to 10 damage, that's less than 90. So you'll have to do 2 shots to kill 1 flak crew member.
So you are now the based voice of reason,
and the flak,
Jibber.
and the flak has more penetration now against the Greyhound.
Yeah,
so
so
they'll die
I'm
faster.
that's gonna be crazy. Oh man.
So the based voice of reason, Jibber, is finding some things that are going in the US favour. It's not completely doom and gloom. However, the general consensus is that it's not looking too great for the USF.
I think mostly tier 3 is hit.
Why would you ever play USF?
Yeah, I think if you had to like resume it, I would say US versus Ver doesn't change much, but US versus DAC though is gonna be a nightmare. Like it's
No,
completely
exactly.
flipped. Completely flipped.
Let's move on to, if I can spell Deutsch Africa. Okay, right. Control F until I get there. There we go. That wasn't that difficult.
Oh, use it to the deck. Oh, never mind.
Okay. Mr. Orangepest, take it away.
Well, I think the biggest change overall is the Panzerjägers being 250 manpower is pretty ridiculous. Like, considering what you can do with like it's cheaper than the Colin, which is meant to be cheap, which is kind of insane to think about. And then you have like there's so many changes with that. Like honestly, like the M13 was probably going to be a lot more viable because the Chaffee's fire rate got nerfed. And the fact that you have more Panzerjägers to support it's going to be massive. I think P grants just being generally better is going to help a lot. I mean, you get free grenades, which means you don't have to invest 150 manpower into basically making like the Semoventus and M13s good against Chaffies viable again. There's a lot. Like the new upgrade, the optics, just giving you like permanent like +5 range is broken.
+10.
Just straight up broken. You get +10 if you're stationary, +5 if you're moving. So it's like
I like it's not broken, but it gives.
I
If you get to the super late game, it's broken. It just gets further scaling, and deck is already very strong in the late game if it can get all the upgrades.
I think it's straight up just game breaking. Like late game Tigers, like with that like constant spotting, like it's gonna be a nightmare.
It's more self-spotting martyrs. Like
that's gonna be a pain in the like there's so many things and like
For deck, it's about getting to the late game without suffering too much manpower bleed, and their manpower economy is getting improved.
I don't even think you're gonna bleed that much.
Yeah, like for example, you don't have to pay for grenades anymore. You used to pay 150 manpower for that. It just straight up removed.
Wow.
So that's gonna save you a lot of manpower.
That's massive. Crash shots and speed increase is underrated.
The most unnecessary buff of all
it's very
time.
bizarre. Yeah. Like, very odd.
Like, the Crad was almost borderline impossible to really kill already if you microed it properly, so I don't know why it got buffed. It's kind of like...
Sonic the Hedgehog going supersonic. It's overkill, isn't it?
Honestly, the grenades are being understated still, because this is huge. It's like, deck used to have no AT, basically, unless you actually invested in it, but now you have some, like, base AT for free. Like, US has to pay for the snares, but deck now gets it for free. They also get their weapon upgrades for free, if they just stack up.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what weapon upgrades did they get for free?
The LNG. Yeah, I mean, the unlock they get for free, well,
that
US
was
has to...
Oh, okay, yeah.
But the LMGs...
Yeah, it's just that US has to, like, tag up to counter, like, deck vehicles, right? While deck can get their vehicles while getting their infantry scaling for free. So, like, they don't have to pay
I kind of agree with Jibber on that one. I feel like that's going to be the issue. It's like, okay, I don't have an answer to, like, the DAC early game infantry force, so, like, I'm going to get a vehicle, but then my vehicle is going to get countered by, like, double L6 call-in or, like, Panzerjägers. I just, like...
Yeah, US has to decide to counter one of them. You either counter the vehicles or you counter the infantry, but you can't counter both of them.
I feel like that's really the biggest issue with US at the moment in this matchup.
Does anybody understand the Italian infantry changes and why they've changed it the way they have?
No one used the
fast tellers is good against Chaffies. That's yeah. I think also the fact that the L6 can actually beat up Chaffies now, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And Greyhounds, which is those are some pretty substantial changes on their own.
If you go for fast tellers, you can't get your mini tanks as fast, so it's not that fast anymore, your tellers.
But I mean, like you don't have to pick it for the L6s. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can just get it, like, if for example, your opponent goes fast quad, you just go lock it in, just punish him immediately, and I think that's just straight up GG because of the HP. And then you have stuff like just the Teller Mine. I mean, there was a Tori are a meme unit still, but, like, the booby traps.
Honestly, are they a meme unit with 1.5 armor? It's
with the 400 manpower on the most manpower-starved faction.
Oh, they're less manpower-starved now. You don't need to pay for your nades. And your infantry is better.
If your infantry is 150, like that's like not that big to open up like getting.
If your infantry is stronger, you bleed less. That's just a fact. So
yeah, but that's like we're presuming you will bleed less. We don't know that yet. Like there's a lot of stuff you can.
Stronger.
Yeah, but the rifles are still pretty powerful with bars. Like, I mean, it's not like if your opponent gets to the stage where you can start pumping out Chaffies and bars, like, then it just becomes like a fucking just rush fest of essentially who gets more M13s or Semoventus versus Chaffies.
You got to enjoy the chaos of that, though. You've got to enjoy some.
I mean, that's like you're basically just racing to see who gets the bigger light vehicle will count, and that is always chaotic.
Now, Orangepest, you are somebody that made the Stug 3D work during Master League Tournament 2, I want to say. it's now had its veterancy requirement reduced, meaning you can get fire positions earlier, and it's got the +20 range to it and stuff now. What do you think about the Stug changes?
I think they're kind of unnecessary because I think the unit was already like pretty strong. But like this is just gonna make its own stuff. Maps like Pacino Stalemate, and I think Road to Tunis too. Like having the extra 5 range, I think makes it so you have equal range with the AT guns, which means you can start trading at long range, which is it's gonna be pretty like I think it increases your MG range too, which is like just a general like damage buff essentially on like all fronts. Just more pressure means 600 or 300 armor and like 600 plus HP. It's pretty already strong.
I suppose at this point, the question a lot of us might be asking in our heads is, what have Brits had, or what can Brits offer to counter DAC? And what can we do with Brits to make like the overall Allies versus Axis matchup viable?
I'm not too sure. I'm still trying to think what Brits have to offer.
Stewards, man.
No, I don't think Stewart spam is going to be. I actually think I don't think L6s are going to be a problem for Brits because they get Boys AT rifle. But you can go for veteran gunner 8 rads and completely make infantry irrelevant, and then just go Panzerjägers with Stewarts to take care of the Stewarts. I don't know. Like I think the mid game will come down to who like does the proper plays and who does the misplays. But I think Brits are in a much better spot, at least against DAC.
I think you want some kind of heavily armored tank somehow, so the Panzerjägers will scale like really badly because they have no penetration.
Yeah, I mean the only vehicle that Brits have that could actually bully that would be the Centaur, but I don't know. I mean, it could be Centaur. Like maybe the meta could be Centaur with your own AT rifles screening your Centaur from the Martyrs. Like who knows? But I actually feel like Brits are in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah,
because
they're already pretty powerful, weren't they?
Yeah, they were pretty decent. I mean, like we didn't. I don't know if we talked about this, but the new combined arms for DAC gives you a movement speed buff. That combined with Asgrens could be a big problem for US, but Brits can at least get their Vickers out really early. So we can give them some breathing room. The mid game though is kind of where I don't know.
Wait, does the Dingo beat the 250s though?
The Dingo was bugged. It doesn't fire on the move.
Well, yeah, but like in a straight 1v1 because the armor buffs. I wonder if that like still counters them.
It probably wins because they kind of beat it decisively.
I think the only big changes for UK for the Crusader AA is getting a pretty substantial nerf.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at the area effect. The near damage is getting more than halved. So it was already kind of like, why make Crusader AA if you can just spam Stewards? Like,
yeah, also like Prime wrote in the chat, like Clarity wrote, you can't really go Dingo because like a Panzerjäger will come out 2 minutes later. Panzerjäger inside the 250, your Dingo's irrelevant. So.
And the other big change is the Steward is getting somewhat of a similar nerf to the change as the Greyhound, where the near damage gets reduced as well.
And
so
moving
less.
scatter, that's a big change. 50% scatter. I don't know, on the move that seems quite a lot. Obviously, it's a flanking vehicle, a lot of mobility with that unit.
I'm surprised that the Steward didn't get a nerf for its survival package, because that thing is just way too effective with it. For 40 ammo, you get to self-heal out of combat with smoke. I'm actually surprised that hasn't been addressed in this patch.
I'm surprised self-healing hasn't been addressed in like general. It seems incredibly cheap to the overall experience.
Yeah, well, 40 ammo on a Steward is really cheap, and it gives you a lot of mid-game momentum. But again, it's now everything's different now, because there could be like 2 or 3 Panzerjägers hidden on the field. There could be the L6. I don't know how the L6 does against the Steward, actually. We actually didn't test that. I wonder if 2 L6s can beat a Steward. They probably can, if they can beat a Chaffee.
Are you in a position to test yet? We were waiting on you to be our honorary tester.
No, sorry, I have some technical issues. My keyboard doesn't work.
Oh, A's gonna have to test.
I did test the delay, but I couldn't share my screen. I think the delay is the same, but units do feel like they move better, like the animations, the pivoting around, and they used to like do a drawn out animation of rotating to the other side, but now they just like quickly swap around to somewhere else.
So this
so I guess it's more precise.
So the animations are improved.
And we always wondered if
and
it was
the pathing as well.
delay or animation. Yeah.
You click somewhere, like in front of the unit, and it just walks in a straight line and doesn't like hop around everywhere.
Do you find
So-
it, Jibber, somewhat amusing that the solution to a lot of these pathing issues has been walk towards where the cursor clicked?
Yeah, I don't know what they thought about making like these quality of life changes, like making units move through cover so they take less damage instead of walking in a straight line. But since they're reverting it now, so that's nice.
Yeah, we've gone back to 1992 level pathing. I appreciate that change. Jibber,
Let's
there's
make
a
it
lot-
simple
when-
as
when you-
possible.
Yeah, exactly. When you were testing and when you and I were like theory crafting about like this, there's definitely delay in CoH3. We know that. But a lot of it did seem to be animation related, especially some of the worst delay. So you're saying the game was going to feel way more responsive now. That's a good thing, right?
I think the input delay is still the most major factor. But I think Relic does have it on their agenda.
Yeah, it's on the roadmap. It's on the roadmap at the very
It's like
least.
Tightrope tested it, it's like 0.15 second delay or something that units suffer. And afterwards they move fine, I guess.
So is anti-air gonna be fixed now? Is loiter's gonna be less
Apparently,
powerful?
one AA unit is enough to shoot down strafes, which is actually pretty big because the 2-1 building was already meta and double flat gun was already pretty prominent.
It's gonna be more prominent now.
So
What I like in the wording is
we'll
go ahead.
see, right? But like strafes and stuff, like the what's the one, Spec Ops one, might basically be worthless now.
I saw with the AA chains that were mentioning that they're most effective if a strafe is close in their vicinity. So it actually depends on how close the plane is, I think. So that's actually pretty nice. Because like in CoH2, for example, it used to be that AA is as effective at like one edge of the map as on the other edge of the map. But in this case, you actually have to like micro your AA unit a bit so it's close to where the strafe is going to be or where the loiter is going to be.
Amazing.
Let's see
And
if I can
loiters are going to
see
be
it.
temporarily not powerful enough, apparently. Like they're bugged in this patch.
Quote unquote bugged. I mean, a fix.
They don't nuke everything for about the next 30 seconds, which would be nice.
The funny thing about that actually is like I think it's still gonna be super potent against factions like USF, which only has one AA piece, and it's locked behind tier 2.
It is not that expensive.
Are you really gonna backtech for like
It's
what,
100
like-
manpower, man. It's like a big
Yeah,
structure, but with a very
you're gonna
small cost.
spend 400 manpower to stop like planes. Like, how much breathing room do you have?
It's less than
Yeah.
400. It's 370.
Yeah, but it's not like the unit. Like, you're not getting it like late game because like you want vehicles out. You want Shermans, M8s, even more rifles,
Yeah, but
mortars,
it
Scots.
actually does more damage to infantry than a Greyhound, if the unit is out of cover.
Yeah, assuming you don't get like hit by a pack
Especially
or, like,
with
a
the
flak
Greyhound
gun and
nerf.
like immediately annihilated by a P4.
Demare, I have a question just to get away from Orangepest to Snipe and Jibber. You've come from CoH1, where strafes were a lot more obnoxious, let's say. How have you found air and anti-air in CoH3? Have you found you're able to adapt to it a little bit easier? Is it less problematic for you? What's your overall opinion on anti-air and air?
It's kind of weird. There's like so many different types of strafes in CoH3. Like some of them like will flat out delete units, and then you have some others that like just like pin. I think like Luftwaffe for just pins units, doesn't really get many kills. But then the DAC one can actually in my last game I played against Jibber on that Tunis game that you casted, there was one moment where he had like a 5 HP Sherman on the middle VP. And I actually used the 50 ammo strafe to try to finish it off, but it did no damage. But meanwhile, the DAC strafe from Italian Combined Arms, which I think costs 60 or 70 ammo, that one can damage vehicles. So I think they're fine. In CoH1, the strafes were like just decimate you, but they cost a fortune. They're like 150 ammo. 150 ammo is a lot in CoH1. I think it was at one point he's got a shirt. Yeah, I think it's that one. It's you just passed the one with the
I
critical
know,
engine.
I just had it on screen.
The love of a strafe murders MGs as well, just saying. Because you kept using it on my MGs.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really like it nukes. it nukes
Yeah, you
like
need some kind of follow-up. That's good.
yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good for follow up, but it's not like the Spec Ops one where it deletes. Like if you don't
Yeah.
move, you're dead. Same thing
Because
with
the second the SSF one gets a second plane.
yeah. So here I used the strafe and like it didn't actually kill him. Like when the Fallschirmjägers retreat, I'm like, oh okay, hopefully he won't pay attention. I'll call a strafe in, but. Yeah,
Pretty
like
sure it's
you learn new things all the time when you play this game. I was like, oh, this is surely a dead Sherman. I'll just wait for him to not move.
Do I need to go forward or backwards?
I just let it play. He's literally standing on the VP and I
Oh,
strafe it.
yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, the Fallschirmjäger is the earliest strafe in the game, though, I think.
Yeah.
Let me. Sorry, there you
So
go.
it's like 1
So-
CP.
Oh, maybe you don't see it, but that's the one thing I remember from that game. I was
There,
like,
it's there. Yeah,
yeah,
it didn't
I
kill him.
strafe it and it did no damage. And I was like, huh, okay, well that's good to know.
Wait, did you call it in from the front or the back?
The
'Cause that
back.
probably makes a difference. I actually thought of it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's stay object orientated. Let's get Orangepest back in on this. And Orangepest, how do you see the meta playing out? What's your big boy prediction?
I think Dak is gonna be the primary Axis faction pick, and I think it's basically just gonna be a reverse sweep now. Like USF is gonna be tunneled into very few strategies that are all very reactive, while Dak basically holds the initiative and dictates the pacing of the game essentially. You have basically you can pick anything you want out of your doctrines. You have so many strong options, and US is kind of just locked into the one note Chaffee spam and bars, which I don't know if it'll be effective enough. I don't know.
Bars
Crits
and you
will
go
be
8
weird,
reds and
but-
you lose.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, you
Yeah.
go bars.
You have
in
to
the
go
mid
tier
game.
3.
You have to go bars after the first Chaffee. That's like the play, I think.
Okay, so Dumais, tell us playing Brits, and you have to go Brits or you lose. I mean, what is your approach with Brits against a really strong DAC player? Say you're doing a scrim, it's versus Orangepest, you're on road to Tunis. What are your thoughts?
It was because Brits I think they're the strongest late game faction because in the previous patch it was like realistically Dak will never be able to get all the armory upgrades. So naturally Brits will always be better in the late game. I would actually say last patch Brits had a weaker early game versus Dak. Like they have no capping power. And like you still need to be careful because Panzergrenadiers can just straight up run into your face and win. But now that's different. Like Dak have the best early game, hands down. So I'm really not too sure how it's going to play out with Brits. I think Brits will need to hold out for the first 5 minutes, stall. I guess you kind of have to see what your opponent does. And if he goes L6, boys AT rifles into Stuarts, I just did the test, and the Stuart will actually single-handedly beat the two L6s.
Can you
so
show
that's
it
good
on
to know.
screen for us? Maybe
Oh, I
share your
just
screen?
closed it. It was like
Oh.
a stomp. It's not even close. Not even close. So
Okay,
Stuart's
so it
actually
literally
really
just dies in a
Stewards
second,
is where
yeah.
it's at.
yeah, the Stuart is still in a good spot. So I guess I don't know. It's gonna be weird, man. Honestly, the fact that the Panzerjägers are 250 manpower really makes light vehicle play a really big problem for allies at the moment. I assume like that's gonna need to get hot fixed really soon.
Jibber, I'm bringing you in on this because you're our optimist and our lateral thinker. Is there anything you feel these guys might not have touched on or you can think of that'll be contrary to that?
I don't think the Panzerjägers were ever like super strong. Maybe that's like a hot take. But they kind of cost a lot to reinforce and they take up like 8 pop cap or something, which is kind of insane.
Yeah.
So it's like in the long term, it will be less efficient than using an AT gun. But against light vehicles, it will be better because like it's more mobile and more responsive, so you can get flanked and everything.
Do you think there's a
So
somewhat...
I don't think you can spam too many Panzerjägers basically, because then your opponent can like punish it.
Do you think
Just
there's
don't see. I just don't see what you can really punish it with, though. That's the thing. Because AT guns, like, they don't have the mobility. Now they've also nerfed their accuracy at long range. Meanwhile, AT rifles, like, they just never miss. And I feel like that in itself is kind of a big issue with this game. Like, I don't know. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out.
Did they get the ambush bonus as well, the Panzerjägers? I've not
Yes, they
seen
get
that for
cloak.
such a long time.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
get the
that's
ambush
true.
bonus.
Actually,
Like, you can't see them. You cannot see them. So, like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
like,
there's also
oh.
no detection in CoH3 almost.
Almost, yeah. The planes don't detect anymore. That's for certain.
Yeah, flares don't detect either.
I was so
So
confused when someone was like making a sniper against me. I called on the Regal player and thought it's gonna be easy counter snipe, but then I didn't see anything and I got counter snipe myself.
Ooh, we've got to bring Orangepest in on something because he's tried to mute himself. Snipers have had a change.
Oh yeah, that's something.
yeah.
Keep them dead. Thank you and goodbye.
They're back, baby.
Nah, it's still dead.
That's a massive
They used to be-
camouflage change.
You can now actually make them at the start again, somewhat kinda. Like, in my opinion, the only time you could make a sniper in the older patch was if you either have a Kettenkrad with the vision bonus and just like see all the map. So you basically
You
can
cannot.
just
This is the vision. This is the old sight range, right? Before they started this new school of thought of everyone has to spot for the snipers. Then the snipers are back to being self-spotting a little bit, and they've got really good leaving cover bonus. That means you can go from cover to cover. You've got 4 seconds to jump from one
that's
place to
big.
another. That's huge.
I think
You
that's
guys
like
are noobs.
Commandos
Why
and
doesn't
Pulse.
I should be doing the analysis? You guys are noobs. You were sleeping on snipers. This is massive.
Oh,
It is a pretty big thing, but
it's not that massive. If you went Pathfinders or you had a Kettenkrad with the vision bonus, you could already use snipers. But now you can just use it in more situations where you don't have those units specifically. That's how I
Dude.
feel about it.
You can, yeah. The most exciting thing is, as a caster, this kind of brings back the one-man army sniper trying to counter-snipe the other snipers, creeping across the map.
And the snipers
aspect.
decloak that quickly? Like, really? 1 second?
yeah, that's the. I was actually surprised to read that because I was like,
honestly,
damn.
is that true? Or is that like... Is it a
don't-
mistake from
I
Relic? Because
thought
I
it
don't
was
feel like it was
2
1 second.
seconds. I thought, yeah, I didn't think it was 1. Let me just think about it in my brain.
Maybe just
Look at
no
the
one's
G.
bothering
No,
to
there's
get
no
the
way
clock.
it was 1 second. There's no way it was 1 second.
The Jeep moving weapon burst reduced from 100 to 75. Oh my god.
Yeah, it does get reduced moving
It's not called the
accuracy,
Jeep
but now
in
the
this,
burst
is
is
it?
reduced
It's
as well.
called
The
the...
4x4
Yeah,
truck.
they're giving the same units
X4.
different names now for some variety. Like what was always called the Puma is now called the 8-Red, and the Jeep is now called a 4x4 truck.
I think it's because the Jeep is like a brand name or something, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a Jeep. It's a Jeep. That's like CoH3's approach. Jeep. Hi. Or the howitzer shot is called howitzer shoot. It shoots howitzer. Demo was detonate me! ! It's just like it had the amateurish quality, which I don't know, is charming in some ways. But this has different kinds of amateur quality, so yeah, all good, all good.
It's brutal.
Oh dear. So that's your predictions. We're now going to go on to general state of play. Who's talked the least in recent history? I'd say it's probably, let's say, Orangepest. What are your thoughts on the general state of CoH3 right now, as we
Right
live
now.
and breathe?
The current state, I think, is a lot better, like substantially better than it was like previously. I think with these quality of life changes, I think this, like sometimes the game was like kind of a chore to play in terms of like playing against the game, trying to get stuff done. But now with all these quality of life changes, especially the pivot stuff with infantry and how they move and stuff, it's gonna be a lot better and a lot more clean and smooth, which is gonna help substantially in just the enjoyability of the game.
Fair
Other than
enough.
that, the balance is a relic balancing, which is disastrous as always. So, give and take, right?
Look at those puny icons on the tech map. It's so
Like,
novel.
what I don't like is that some of the broader issues are not really being addressed. Like MGs, for
MGs,
example.
Yeah.
You can have your opinions out about it not being too hard to do it. I think it is. But just the gameplay is not fun. If the MGs turn around in 2 seconds and you flank it, it's immediately shut down. Or
Yeah.
the weapon traverses from one side of its arc to each other in like 1 second. It's just not fun. The instant pinning almost in one burst
the
is not fun.
pathing
You cannot
being
crawl
better.
away.
What's MG's nemesis? It's flanking, and pathing has improved across the board, hasn't it? So I agree. By the way, don't get me wrong. I don't disagree, but I do see like the
point.
counters are kind of across
Also-
the board getting buffed.
Orange also mentioned bug fixes with the MGs though, so the MGs themselves also got more
Yeah.
responsive.
Yeah, they got super responsive.
And for example, something like no one is going tier 3 for deck. That's still not a thing. Like nothing's being changed for that. I still think you're gonna spam tier 2 Vehicles or like a Colin
Well,
or
I
something.
think you don't need to go tier 3 now because like the game will
Well, no
just
one,
be
no one
over
already
by then.
did. So
Yeah, that was more like the Panzer 3 just being in a bad
Yeah,
spot.
Panzer 3 is just like meh. And what else is there? The flak and yeah.
Also, tier 2 for Wehrmacht is also not popular in 1v1, and it's just gonna become even more tier 1 favorite now because of the Whirlwind buff, the Flak buff.
You
It's
mean
kind of
tier
like
2B? Yes, and tier 2A is more popular. Yes, okay, I see.
so
But
they need
why
to do
not?
like
Panzer
some more.
Grenadier's not terrible. Stug's great.
They
What's
don't
the
scale
problem?
well in the meta.
Oh,
Panzer
okay.
Grenadiers.
Did
Panzer
you just
Grenadiers are
say
in a
Panzer
very
Grenadiers not terrible?
It used to be that the Stuk was like quite a substantial threat to infantry, so you could just spam Stuks and like be fine. But now it's like it doesn't do that much damage anymore to infantry, so it doesn't really have much shock value anymore. The tier.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Like I don't know. This I kind of wish like Pigrins could have like an ammo sink just to make them like more efficient. I just want I would really like to have like just better Axis infantry in general. But
Wehrmacht Pigrans. Yeah, I really want one of them to be renamed, by the way. That's just like a quality of life change that will help the community significantly. Call
Bring
like
back
one
Panzer Fusiliers.
Panzer Fusiliers, exactly.
Yeah,
Just
Panzer
call the
Fusiliers,
Decrons
yeah.
Panzer Fusiliers, something, anything, whatever. Just do it because it's so bloody confusing and a bit cheap to have the same infantry twice.
And they can't change it anymore because they already recorded the voice lines.
Oh man,
yeah, it's true.
Oh, no, just name them differently. It's fine, and they can call themselves Panzer Grenadiers. I don't care. Okay, because, like, we've got to think about the guy that's commuting to work on the bus, and it's 40-minute commute. Let's try and finish this baby off. We've already done an hour, and yeah, we're an hour in, whatever. Predictions for the rest of the year and expansion. And I will start with you, Dumais. Like, what's going to happen? Is CoH3 going to survive? Are the fans going to come back? Are we on a good trajectory or not? Give it to us.
Like the trajectory is good. It's just the pacing that isn't. And I feel like that's still an issue. Like, yeah, I think many of us when the game released, right, we were expecting like weekly patches, to quickly address things that were broken. Like, okay, we got a new patch, but like when you think about it, we've been in the same meta since June, and we're now in October. So it's cool that we're getting patches, but like the pacing is quite slow, and it's like, like we knew what the outliers were, like the EZA, the Rifleman, like the White Phosphorus, and like we just had to sit through it and tolerate it for like months on end. So the trajectory is good. The pacing, though, however, can definitely be improved. So, and in terms of the game's future, I mean, I like the game. I can see why people don't like it, but I think what will really determine the future will be the December expansion. That's pretty much it. I can't really speculate much more than that. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, fair enough. Jibber, the future, what does it hold for Company Heroes 3 fans if you were to predict the way it's going?
I mean, for players coming back, I really think the team games need the most love. And I don't really play team games myself, so I don't know like the specifics really. But just CoH2, when you're playing team games, there is so much spectacle and so much fun. So I hope CoH3 tries to replicate that better. And my personal wish is the input delay fix. That's like very, very, very top of my list because it will make the game feel so much more responsive.
Oh, yeah.
If the input delay fix gets if it gets added to the next patch, then I'll take CoH3 much more serious again in terms of how much I play it and how much I grind it.
Fair enough. And Mr. Orangepest, is this game going to become the Company Heroes 3 we expected it to be? Is it going to become a big game, get 5,000 concurrents anytime soon?
I hope so. I mean, I like the game. I'm optimistic. I mean, it's going to be make or break with the next expansion, I think. And Relic really has to deliver. I mean, if it's anywhere even remotely the size of this patch, which is more content, like more maps is very important. I think at least 2 more battle groups per faction would be really good.
Oh,
I think if a lot of those things are done right and like, people are slowly, probably over time, brought back to the game, I feel like it could survive and grow. I mean, I believe in the game because I like it. I have fun with it, but I know a lot of CoH2 guys are really not fond of it.
Well, you made enough money out of it this year, so yeah, you've got a good reason to like it. Right then.
Oh, I'm hungry for more. What can I say? Like everyone likes money. Go on, I'm a
Turned off
sellout.
the
I'm a
gravy train.
fraud.
Let's hope there's another gravy train in the future. We can all ride together. A gravy tsunami. That'd be good. Any closing thoughts? Any closing remarks? Anything this crappy notepad file missed? Anything you think the fans have missed? Jibber, Dumais, what have we not covered?
I don't know. I think that pretty much covers everything.
Good, good. I'm liking that. Jibber, any closing thoughts?
We'll probably be completely wrong about everything.
Yes, we usually are. But we tried our best. Let's hope we get a medal for it. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Are any of you three guys streaming? You want to host? I probably haven't got that many viewers, but I'm just asking. Anyway.
I'm gonna go to bed because I have to get up at 4 in the morning. So
I mean, Havoc is on. There's always him. He's playing AE right now. He's playing DAC right now, so that's probably what most of us want to see.
Okay.
Oh, am I wrong? Or that the meta plays the next tournament get announced? Like the second part?
Really?
I thought, like, maybe I dreamt it. That I thought it was going to be a second part. I could be wrong, though. Okay, yeah. That's what I was asking as well.
No, I think there's stuff. I wouldn't. I think there's stuff coming from multiple avenues, from what I understand. So it's a lot of. We're like the tournament crew, aren't we? We just want tournaments because that's when it feels the most real to us. But yeah, there's stuff to be excited about, I guess. Very, very excited in the future. Although I don't sound it, that's because I'm knackered, which is British for tired. So yeah, Radiant Havoc, thanks very much, dudes. We got Dumais, we got Jibber, we got Orangepest. They've all got Twitch channels. Like, you can Google them, I'm sure.
Mine is the most active by far.
I won't be streaming anytime soon. Probably later today.
Do you remember you said you weren't streaming for a whole year and then you like streamed the next month? That was funny.
Yeah, that was for CoH3 though, and that was because I had to do the Dexon meme. So.
Okay. And Jibber now has a webcam. He's a very handsome man. Beating the women back, I'm sure. And Orangepest, do you still work in a sub-zero environment?
Yes, sir.
There you go. That's why it's so icy cool. Like, playing Company Heroes is like not as arduous as real jobs, so there you go.
I do think it's almost guaranteed we're gonna get battle groups with the expansion. Because there's Canadian units in the game, for example, that already have voice lines and they already have portraits. They're also used in the campaign, but not in the multiplayer itself.
Have you seen those Aussie units, Jibber, as well? There's the Aussie units. I can't remember what exactly they were.
Yeah, with the kangaroo.
That was it. Yeah, something like that.
The icon.
Yeah, they did literally have a kangaroo icon. It sounds like we're making it up and being funny, but I can't. There is an Aussie unit and it's badass. It's got loads of voice lines.
On a kangaroo. I remember now.
Yeah. Oh, Shock Troops. That's it, Jay Shreddy. Yeah.
Yeah, Shock Troops.
And about the Nashorn, Jibber, are you excited to have the Nashorn to play with?
Oh, that Nashorn for Wehrmacht? Yeah, no, I'm more excited about the Archer for the Brits.
Dude, that's gonna be cancer. Oh god,
it's gonna be cancer, but I just want a normal tank destroyer as UKF, man. I just want that.